Nation.
Thank you. You may be seated. The Secretary will read the order of the day.
Debate on Youth Day, progressively implementing the Freedom Charter by advancing our collective efforts for sustainable national youth development by 2030.
Honorable Deputy Minister
Honourable
and the
Chairperson.
Presidency.
Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker,
Yeah, oh, yes, sir.
I'm rising on a point of order.
Yeah, what's the point of order, sir?
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the debate today is a joint sitting to commemorate Youth Day. It is not a party motion and it's not a member motion. It's a debate on behalf of Parliament of South Africa. Because of that, we had a discussion in the Chief Whip's Forum in which we indicated that the topic of today's debate is partisan. I understand that the Freedom Charter means a lot to the ruling party and to some other parties as well. But the fact of the matter is, Honourable Chairperson, Deputy Speaker, it is a political document which do not represent necessarily the views of all the members and parties in South Africa. Because we understand the importance of the Freedom Charter, we were reasonable and we suggested in the discussion that other things be included, like the Constitution, like the National Development Plan. Despite our request in that regard, it was simply ignored and we are debating a party political document of the ruling party. I think it's unfortunate, I think it's wrong, it sends the wrong message. This is a joint sitting celebrating Youth Day. It's not a party members or a member statement for today. Thank you.
Honorable members, the point is noted. That matter was discussed in the programming committee this morning. If the meeting didn't arrive at a different view, we proceed. Honorable Chief Whip.
We noted the concern of all parties that they feel offended by the Freedom Charter. However, it was too late for us to change the topic because it's a joint sitting. I really don't shout at you when you speak. I listen to you.
Order, honorable members, order.
We agreed that after this debate, because the joint between us and NCOP, after it, we will bring the Freedom Charter into this house for this house to adopt it formally.
Honorable members, order. Honorable
Deputy Speaker,
Yes, sir.
I want to make it very, very clear.
What point are you raising on, sir?
I'm writing on the same point of order that you allowed the Chief Whip to rise on.
Yes, talk about it.
It's to deal with the topics there. We certainly did not come to an agreement that the Freedom Charter be brought here for adoption. The Democratic Alliance placed on record, again at the Programming Committee meeting, there was supposed to be a bilateral afterwards. But that bilateral consisted of us being told that tough luck, it can't be changed. I do, however, want to say, and I want it on record again, because this is also something that's been raised consistently, that once again, look at around you at the joint sitting today. This is how seriously joint sittings are taken, and I want that borne in mind again when we program joint sittings. The attendance here is less than 30%.
Honorable Manamela.
Deputy Speaker, honorable members, every year we commemorate the radical actions that were undertaken by the youth of June 16, 1976 to remind ourselves of the innate power that young people have to change the world, to confront the circumstances that keeps them shackled in chains, denying them their freedom, and to celebrate the role that they played in awakening the struggle against apartheid. This year is no different. The youth are moving South Africa forward. We do this because our history and our youth matters in making us realize the potential our country possesses to be a great and united nation that will never repeat the ugliness of the apartheid system that the world knew us of. The commemoration of June 16, led by young giants such as Sietsi Mashinini, Khotso Seatlulo, Mafi Murobe, Seth Mazibuko, Billy Masetla, Super Muloi, Daniel Munsisi, Sibongile Mthembu Mkabela, Paul Langa, Hector Peterson, and many others, should forever remain a motivation to thousands of young people that they hold their destiny in their own hands and no one will liberate them. Their efforts have been paid off by the election of a democratic government that cares for its youth and have placed at the center of its program youth development. Daily negative messaging cannot refute the evidence that that the life of a young person born 21 years ago in 1994 is better off than those who were born before. Unlike their parents, they are not required to carry passes around, are not forced to learn substandard education in a language imposed on them, are recipients of a decent meal in school, have a prospect of going to a TVET college or university fully funded by the state, will not be forced to leave certain areas at certain times through influx control, and have, theoretically, an equal chance to make it in life. As the ANC, we do not, however, regard these young people as being born free because the shackles that bound their parents are still imprinted in their life and will take generations and effort to change, instead of mere one-liners and quotable rabble-rousing quotes, as some would want us to believe. This administration has taken the needs, interests, and aspirations of young people to heart, and thus President Jacob Zuma has placed the task of youth development in his office and has made it the responsibility of each and every national government department, local and provincial, and all state agencies to put youth development at the center of their work. Last year, when we commenced with the consultations that led to the National Youth Policy 2020, a young girl from Diepsloot Secondary School shouted from the back of the hall, protesting against the economization of the challenges of young people. She protested that not all young people aspire all these fancy things that their leaders and their parents have been talking about. She declared that all what teenagers her age want to do is to play. By playing, she implied that she wants to be a musician, an artist, or a sporting athlete. She wants to have the freedom to play netball or chess in a safe environment where she would not be a potential victim of rape, where she would not be a potential victim of rape or be induced into a life of prostitution, drugs, or alcohol. By playing, she meant that she wants to be given an opportunity and facilities for recreations so that she does not become another statistic among the millions infected by HIV/AIDS or be pregnant at an early age, dependent to some sugar daddy. We want to play, she declared. And by this, she saw herself in a classroom having equal resources like any other young person in the country, irrespective of their color or gender, and being able to succeed without objective conditions limiting her own development. When she said that she wants to play, she meant that she wants access to books through a library so that she can read and open up a new world full of possibilities and as seen through the eyes of the writer. Or to flip through the books of history and learn about Mandela, Gandhi, Verwoerd, and Suzman, and the role that they've played to make this history better or worse. Playing to her meant that she wants equal opportunities to acquire skills and knowledge about a trade or becoming an entrepreneur so that she breaks the cycle of poverty that binds her to a family or her community. She wanted access to information and technology that will allow her to socially interact with her peers, to understand their culture, their perspective, their language, their history, their food, and to know where they are from and connect with them as human beings and not see them as people from across the border. She probably saw herself as the future captain of Banyana Banyana or as a senior executive of a mining company that will contribute in building a prosperous society. The freedom to play in this way that the Diepsloot girl dreamt is the freedom that Hector Peterson and many others sacrificed or were denied. They had no other freedoms except the limited ones that were served on the platter of white minority rule. Hector and many others could not be Kwaito stars or score runs on the cricket field because the law did not permit. Thus, freedom, or the freedom we should think of for the youth of this country, should be the freedom to play, to dream, and to be able to pursue or realize those dreams, irrespective of their color or gender. The main intention of the National Youth Policy 2020 is exactly that, to allow young people to be able to realize their potential by providing them with a hand up to eradicate the hurdles that were imposed by our history and to use state power to develop their lives for the better. But the Diepsloot girl also understands that this freedom to play came with enormous responsibilities and that she could not waste her future overindulging in her rights without taking responsibility for her action. And those who were born in 1994 comprehend that what it means to have access to education. They also understand that they have the responsibility to study hard and pass. If they are given a study loan or a bursary, not only do they have a responsibility to work for their country, but also to contribute back into the National Student Financial Aid Scheme so that more students have access to further and higher education.
On the point of order.
Yes, what's your point of order, sir?
Deputy Speaker, my apologies for having to stop the session before it continues. Our speakers from the NCOP are not in the speakers list there. When we tell the chief whip of the NCOP that they must include our speakers there, she says she can't do it. We understand that you are majority here, but don't abuse us. All of us here have got the right to speak in this parliament. When there's a joint sitting, there must be representatives of all political parties, not of one political party only. Can we please deal with that immediately, urgently, before we proceed with anything so that all of us contribute to this debate?
Honorable Shivambo, please go and attend to that thing outside of this meeting.
No, sorry.
The
No,
House-
we're from there. She's refusing. She says we can't do it there.
Yeah. No, please do that. You can't do that here in the House. Proceed, Honorable Manamela.
House Chair, sorry, Deputy Speaker, it is very much a matter of privilege and we must deal with it in this House. Our speakers have been denied the opportunity to participate in the debate and the manner in which they are represented in that legislature. Now, that is a very serious matter. It's the first time this has ever happened in a joint debate. And frankly, it is a matter for you to deal with as a presiding officer.
No,
it's
you-
not something we're going to go and sit outside and have to beg for our constitutional right to be represented in the NCOP. So I'm not going to beg for that.
No.
And I would like a ruling from you, sir. I would
No.
like a ruling from you, sir.
The ruling is that members go and resolve that matter. Both, all whips who are here, you will go and resolve it outside. It's a bad precedent, and I do not agree with you that this matter must be. I'm giving instructions that members in the whippery must go and resolve it. Don't come in here if it's not resolved.
Deputy Speaker, we're from outside.
Yes, do it now.
And a person who represents the ANC is saying that we cannot include names there. What kind of constitution, what kind of parliament is this?
I request
Where
you,
only one political party
honorable
wants to
members,
speak here.
please go outside and deal with this matter. Proceed, honorable member.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Our rights.
Order.
Deputy Chair. Deputy
What?
Speaker,
Yeah.
do you think that we should continue while our members...
Yes, honorable member, yes. Please take your seat.
Miss this debate?
Yes, we are proceeding. Sit down, honorable member. Yes, honorable member, we are proceeding. Proceed, honorable Manamela.
Our rights, as enshrined in the Constitution, our right to life, to health, to work, our right to do business, our right to an education, our right to sports and recreation, and various other liberties come with huge responsibilities. These responsibilities include making a contribution towards a united, non-sexist, non-racist, and democratic society. A future South Africa where we all live together with total disregard of our race or gender. The Presidential Working Group on Youth represents a giant step by the President to take further work that has been done for the last 21 years to change the quality of life of young people and allow them to play. this presidential working group, together with a task team of 17 deputy ministers, will not only ensure that the national youth policy is implemented, but will also ensure that youth development becomes the business of everyone in government, in civil society, in business, and in all our communities. We have listened to young people through the consultative processes of the National Youth Policy 2020, who called upon government to accelerate action in terms of jobs, education, skills development, support for youth businesses, and the fight against drugs and substance abuse. Thus, the Presidential Working Group on Youth have instructed us to accelerate the implementation of the Youth Employment Accord and many other government policies in responding to the challenges facing young people. In this regard, we will immediately be targeting the finalization of the National Youth Service Framework and seek to recruit more than 1 million young people into a national youth service within the next 2 years. We will lobby for additional funding for youth businesses and cooperatives as an add-on to the 2.7 billion allocated by the IDC and CIFA together with the National Youth Development Agency. We will work with business to ensure that more young people are exposed to workplace skills programs, internships, and also review the progress made through the Youth Employment Incentive in order to ensure that we take care of the more than 240,000 unemployed graduates. We will work with young people to protect our communities, our schools, and our universities, and playgrounds, and streets, and bring to book criminals who traffic drugs in these areas. But in the overall, we will be mobilizing young people to get involved, to take action and change South Africa for the better, and not be passive bystanders waiting for this to happen for us. We've also listened to them when they demand a change in the manner in which the NYDA operates and provide youth development services. And in this regard, for the first time in years, the NYDA has received an unqualified audit from the Auditor General. The new NYDA board has taken the services of the NYDA to young people by opening more than 240 local youth offices nationally, which in the last financial year has served 1.2 million young people, with the prospects of more offices being opened in this financial year, including the office that we're opening this Saturday in Gauteng in El Dorado. They have provided 29 million in grant funding to more than 1,043 young people, yielding more than 4,347 direct jobs. And for us, this is hope in action. Through the voucher program, the NYDA has empowered and uplifted more than 62,000 young entrepreneurs in the last financial year and have given career guidance to close to 1 million young people countrywide. And for us, this is hope in action. Close to 4,000 young people got a second chance last year after having failed their matric, were integrated into the NYDA's second chance program. And today, their lives will be changed for the better. And for us, this is hope in action. 300 more are beneficiaries of the NYDA Solomon Mahlangu Scholarship Program, which was launched by the President. And many more will be covered through initiatives of partnering with the private sector in this regard. And for us, this is hope in action. And all of this will be expanded with the additional 37 million that will be saved from the reorganization of the NYDA, which will be implemented from the beginning of July. The NYDA indeed remains a catalyst for youth development and has restored hope through action in the lives of millions of young people. And it is thus that we will never ever listen to people who say that the NYDA should be closed down, because it has reached out to more young people than some of the political parties that are represented in this House. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, 1 in 3 young people are unemployed. Yes, more than 2.5 million young people are idling and not economically active. Yes, teenage pregnancy and drugs and alcohol abuse remain a scary statistics. Yes, more and more young people are trapped in the poverty cycle that has given birth by long years of the ugliness of the apartheid system. These are the issues that gives us sleepless nights and motivate us to do more together with the youth of our country. We are inspired that although some may prophesize gloom and doom at the end of the horizon, we see hope in the eyes of the youth, and that at the end they too will be able to play in the sunshine, just as the little girl from Deep Slot dreams to. And to the millions of young people out there, we say to you, uzoyithola kanjani mawuhlele khoneni. Join in the action. Let us change South Africa. Let us move our country forward. I thank you.
Honorable Stender.
Mehlo Madala Somlomo. Walking through Tubaletu village near King Williamstown in the Eastern Cape, I came across a scene that I often find during constituency visits. 4 young people sitting at home, 3 young ladies, one cooking isiduko, one tending to a toddler, probably 2 years old, another watching TV, and a young man playing with his cell phone. Discussing their challenges, I learned that one of them had dropped out of school so that she could look after her 2-year-old child because there's no community creche. Another shared that with HIV it was difficult to take her medication because there was no community clinic, and often she had no food. The other 2 said that they were looking for work but couldn't find any jobs. I asked how they spend their days, and the young man replied, "What we are doing now, just sitting." I saw young people with little independence and impugned dignity. The late Harry Schwartz said, "Freedom is incomplete if it is exercised in poverty." Young people may have political freedoms, but these freedoms are meaningless in a vacuum of opportunity. There are many vacuums of opportunity for young people in our country, and higher education is no exception. The NSFAS is in a state of disarray, denying talented, hard-working, capable youth of opportunities. There is a young man in Daveyton, Gauteng, who completed his first year of study successfully at Tshwane University of Technology on NSFAS funding in 2011. He was studying IT and passed all his subjects with good grades. However, when he applied to renew his funding for a second year, the NSFAS officers told him that they were too busy processing applications for next year's students and that he would have to come back at a later stage. He went back and queued no less than 12 times, only to be told that there was no funding for him. He was forced to drop out. What is he doing now? Just sitting. Is this the only future that young people have to look forward to in South Africa? No, it is not. In a society characterized by freedom, fairness, and opportunity, he would have had the opportunity to complete his studies. We don't want our young people to be just sitting at home. Our young people should be able to live in a country where you are able to fulfill your dreams, regardless of the circumstances of your birth. Imagine having the best education today to develop your talents so that you can make discoveries or build companies that will make our country great tomorrow. Imagine having reliable, accessible health care that looks after you when you are sick. Imagine having the internet access and the electricity to tap into the world of knowledge and ace that assignment or exam. Imagine feeling safe to walk home after a day of learning or work because we have enough well-trained police and a functional justice system. Imagine having confidence in your opportunities so you don't need to turn to drugs. Imagine a united South Africa, no matter the color of your skin, the language that you speak, your faith or your sexual orientation. Imagine being able to succeed in life because of your talents and hard work and not based on the circumstances of your birth. Imagine this for our children one day, youth of South Africa. If you invested 1,000 Rand in 1994, depending on your choice, you could either have almost 20,000 rand or nothing in the bank today. The same applies for investing in a political party. When you deposit your vote on the ballot, you need to review your choice after 5 years. And if you are not satisfied, you have the choice to choose an alternative. After 21 years of investment in the ANC, we have unprecedented corruption, higher unemployment, greater inequality, increased poverty, with nothing but excuses, and an ANC president who laughs at us from this very spot. The ANC government currently has the future of young people in their hands, but they are using those hands to strangle that future. It is time to invest in a new offer, the DA's Values Charter, where you will have the freedom, fairness, and opportunity to realize your hopes and dreams. It is only through this Values Charter that we can return to our founding vision of a non-racial society in which people feel valued, free, and equal by their government and each other. We cannot accept the ANC's continuous, divisive, racially charged rhetoric as characterized by the Honorable Radebe last night. Honorable Radebe, I am an African, and so is every young person in this country. South Africa can be the greatest country in the world. We have the resources woven through our earth. We have you, the tapestry of talent and diversity. All we need is the vision and leadership. Dreamers, innovators, movers and shakers, we are one nation with one future, and you are that future. The youth of South Africa can bank on the DA because we are banking on you. I thank you.
Honorable Shivambo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. You know, the globally accepted definition of who youth are, Honorable Malamela, is people who are in transition from childhood dependence to adulthood independence. So in that transition, they need access to education, they need access to health care, they need access to land, they need access to information, they need access to economic opportunities, they need access to sporting and recreational facilities, they need access to arts and cultural activities. Now the transition in South Africa is longer than normal. I know the Constitution, and when the youth movement, we used to say that youth is those who are between the ages of 14 and 35, meaning that when you turn 35, you're no longer youth. But the transition in South Africa from childhood dependence to adulthood independence is far much longer, because majority of our people do not have access to basic opportunities, to education opportunities. There were less than 300,000 spaces available at first year level in all the technical and vocational education and training colleges and institutions of higher learning this year. But the system at secondary level had produced more than 1 million children who need access to education. That include those who wrote matric and those who dropped out of the system at the different levels. Where are they going to go? Where is the rest going to go? What kind of a government does not take care of its youth? Now, the EFF, to commemorate Youth of 1976, will be launching the EFF Students Command between the 14th and 16th of June in the University of Limpopo, Teflop campus, where we're in control as the Students' Representative Council. We're going to be launching the Student Command because we want to inspire new hope to the student population of our country, that you can have a radical militant student formation which will represent your interest. But also are building on the many successes that we have already recorded in all the SRC elections that have happened this year. As a matter of fact, the EFF is in control of the SRC in November, TVET College, in Makwarela TVET College, in Sishiho TVET College, in Tshwane North TVET College, in Tshwane University of Technology Soshanguve campus, in Central Johannesburg College, in Sidibeng TVET College, in Vaal University of Technology, where we defeated the ANC 100%, and they never got even a single seat when they contested against us. In the University of Limpopo, we're breeding a new generation of student activists that are going to take this country forward. Now, the founding principles of the Student Command of the EFF is the pursuit of radical higher education transformation with the aim towards free quality education, mobilizing students behind the struggle for economic freedom embodied in the EFF founding manifesto, championing the interests of students and all workers in institutions of higher learning, building a dynamic relationship between students and community struggles and campaigns, participating in progressive international campaigns and programs, promoting academic and research excellence and progress, contributing to intellectual and ideological discourse in a manner that seeks to promote the struggle for economic freedom. That is the nature of a student movement which we have conceptualized and are going to launch here in South Africa. Our message on Youth Day is that the young people of South Africa should learn. They must learn and learn. Like Lenin said, they must learn that political power without economic power is meaningless. They must learn that the people of South Africa liberated themselves, were not liberated by the ANC. The ANC just played a part. The people of South Africa carried their own liberation. The people of South Africa and the youth should learn that as youth we carry the power to remove this government through elections and any other means. And the youth must learn the basic fact that we should reject all manifestations of corruption like the chairperson of the ANC, Mr. Paul Mashatile, did today to say that we cannot endorse when government expends lots of money in Kandla and they still say they're going to spend more money. We should stand up and say to authority that we cannot abuse the resources that are available for us to go to school, to gain access to healthcare for other purposes. But we know that the future belongs to us because we are the future and no one will ever stop us.
Honorable Hlengwa.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, when it comes to youth development, the government deserves a 0 out of 10. They have not walked their talk, and to turn off the youth of South Africa, I want to give the ANC a red card. You have failed the youth of South Africa. Next Tuesday, being Youth Day, the eyes and memories of South Africans and the world over will momentarily fixate on the bravery of the youth of 1976, and the thought will be spared for the brutality inflicted on the youth on that day. In that moment, we will see the brave heroism and commitment to education of the black child of 1976 in the face of a scary and uncertain reality. A reality that is very much alive in 2015, whereby unemployment, poor education, and police brutality are a permanent feature. Thus, the struggle of 1976 and 2015 continues to be one that is worthy to emulate. The youth of 1976 were a victim of a systematic and well-orchestrated assault on their education and future, which had been left unchallenged, would have prolonged apartheid and the scandalous oppressive tendencies of the time. Similarly, 21 years into our freedom and democracy and 39 years since June 1976, the education system of South Africa is a far cry from what is needed to respond positively to the collective needs of the job market, leaving the youth of South Africa wanting in economic wilderness, joblessness, hopelessness, and unable to contribute. The education system of this country is designed such that it prolongs the cycle of poverty and dependency in a disgusting ploy to manufacture voter fodder to keep the current government in place until their so-called Jesus comes back. There is an overwhelming resistance on the part of governments to embrace quality education. The government has deliberately killed the quality of education in this country, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. The youth of 1976 understood that freedom without and democracy without decent and quality education was a recipe for disaster. And 39 years later, that disaster is upon us, and history will judge you very harshly if you fail now to rise to the occasion and change our education for the better as the so-called government of the day. Tuesday is a day, not a day to celebrate and commemorate, but a day to begin a new revolution to make sure that young South Africans get a future that they deserve. 1976 is bound to repeat itself if the education system continues to be the mess in that it is in today. The high levels of inequality and ever-increasing levels of unemployment and endemic poverty currently characterizing South Africa today should spur us into a new action, and this parliament must do something to change that which is wrong, and we must refuse to become a parliament that rubber stamps these stupid resolutions that make their way into this house from Luthuli House. We are not the rubber stamping institution, but we should change the lives of our people for the better. I thank you.
Honorable Smilani Zulu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm very surprised that an IFP comes here and talks about the ANC and gives the ANC a red card when the IFP was in charge of the province of KwaZulu-Natal from 1977 to 2004. Nothing was ever done for young people of that province. Speaker, it is a known fact that a community that can never develop unless its youth
What's your
is also developed.
Order, honorable members.
Point of order, Chair.
Order.
On a point of
Order.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Point of order.
What's your
Honorable
point of order?
Speaker, I just wanted to remind Mrs. Belane that
That's not a point of order.
The government of unity
That's not a point of
before
order.
2004 between
Honorable
us and
member.
them. Therefore, any of our failures are your
Honorable
failures.
member, proceed and speak. Honorable members, may I remind you, if you want to debate political issues, don't abuse the point of order requirements. You are creating a problem for the House if you continue to do that. Proceed, honorable member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It is a known fact that a community that does not develop unless its youth is also developed. Young people are the future in any society. It is on this basis that the agenda of youth development is and should always remain a priority of the ANC-led government. Speaker, young people by their nature are not a homogeneous group. Therefore, even the interventions of government can never be the same for all of them, or they can never be static for that matter. That is why there will always be a call for government, that government should do more for the young people, because it is never the same and it is never enough. Even though we acknowledge that a lot has been done for the development of young people, and a lot still needs to be done. Deputy Speaker, I myself come from a generation of young people who have benefited from the progressive policies of youth development in South Africa, post-1994. We should appreciate all the strides that have been taken by the government in ensuring that young people from previously disadvantaged backgrounds in particular, I know other people will not understand that, from previously disadvantaged backgrounds in particular, access opportunities that were never available to them previously. Lokhu ke sihlalo kwakungeke kwenzeke uma ngabe abantu abamnyama noma abantu ababe-progressive bengazange bahlangane eKliptown ngo-1955 but decide ukuthi bayathanda ukuthi bayiphathe futhi bese besho ukuthi yiphi indlela abafuna ukuyiphatha ngayo. And these people had very clear visions on how South Africa of the future should and will look like. Chairperson, I speak about the Congress of the People, the real Congress of the People that met in Kliptown in June 1955. One of the clauses that were discussed there, Chair, I quote, "The people shall share in the country's wealth. The national wealth of our country, the heritage of South Africans shall be restored to the people, not those who had stolen it." This clause is very important and very relevant to the development of young people in our country. The province of KwaZulu-Natal, in trying to implement this clause in relation to youth development, has had a number of programs that it has implemented in the past and is currently implemented. These are important to note, Deputy Speaker, as this will ensure that as a people we are able to criticize constructively where it is necessary to do so, but also appreciate good work which has been done. However, the starting point is noting that the youth of South Africa, amongst other things, need skills to be able to develop further with their lives. KwaZulu-Natal government ran a program called Youth Ambassadors. This program at any given time employed not less than 3,800 young people throughout the province, albeit on a stipend, but for not less than 2 years. The aim of this program was to ensure that youth of the province is exposed to all the skills that are available within all the provincial departments, and these young people worked with all the provincial government departments in their different war rooms within the provincial program called Operation Sukumasaki. This ensured that the youth will get different skills but also have access to opportunities that are available in all these departments. Some of these young people have exited to bigger programs, including your CTWs, their managers, their nutritionists in department, life trainers in the Department of Social Development. The list is endless. The Department of Economic Development itself currently is busy working and providing skills to young people to ensure that they are given skills, and when they leave, they are actually absorbed by the said programs. Chairperson, these are some of the gains of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but let me turn to the national picture. The national government has ensured that there is a policy that addresses youth development directly, and this policy has been there for a while. Although there is now an updated policy that the Deputy Minister spoke about, as it is called the National Youth Policy 2020. There are 4 priorities to this policy. I will just quote them and move quickly. The first one is to enable economic participation and transformation, facilitating education, skills development and second chances, healthcare and combating substance abuse, facilitating nation building and social cohesion. On healthcare, Deputy Speaker, we do say to young people, those who have not started or those who are not sexually active currently must abstain. However, those who are already active must ensure that they always use condoms. That's why when we talk to young people, we always say 1 round, 1 condom, because we want to ensure that we remind them of their health. This upgraded youth development policy comes directly from the youth of South Africa, where there were interactions with young people from all walks of life and were requested to voice their views on the policy.
Order, why are you getting agitated?
They are excited by the 1 round, 1 condom, Chair. But they must know that we don't mean they must wash the condom. They must take another one. Chairperson, the views of young people was also received, including using a Twitter handle called #NYP2020, where the youth could post their comments. Chair, this is very commendable. It's a very commendable step by the national government and is very much supported by the youth of our country. However, Chairperson, the issue of youth development, particularly economic development, can never be an issue of government alone. The private sector should come to the party. Yes, government is expected to strengthen discussions with the private sector in relation to the partnerships that will implement the vision of the youth that is skilled and empowerment. A call should also be made by all of us to the private sector, Honorable Deputy Speaker, to take the matters of youth development to heart and join the government on all the initiatives that are out there and are meant to empower our young people. By the way, the private sector doesn't have to wait for government to invite them to join initiatives that are established by the government itself. What is stopping these car manufacturing companies from ensuring that parts that they use in their cars are actually manufactured by youth entities? What is stopping the hair industry from ensuring that all the products that are utilized that are sold in the industry come from youth companies? Even if it means they need to be trained at the beginning, that investment will surely be worth their while in the long run. Can we imagine the number of job opportunities that could be created? Speaker, we all know that all the successful economies have not grown through big companies alone, but through the mushrooming of the young entrepreneurs. Who can forget the story of Google and who actually started it and who owns it? The role of government here is to ensure that Google is not used by DA alone. The role of government here is to ensure that the environment is conducive, which the government continues to do through the different agencies. In the last financial year, as the Deputy Minister has said, the NYDA dispersed 28 million rands through a grant funding program. This program aims to support the new start of entrepreneurs, Honorable Speaker. We support this very much. However, having said that, young people also have a need to change their mentality. The view that a majority of our youth hold, that once they leave school, they must look for employment is also problematic. The South Africa of today needs creative young people that will think outside the box, not just wait for government, but also create their own opportunities, as this will ensure that jobs are not created just by the big companies, but they themselves will create opportunities for themselves and for other young people. The youth of 2015 have a responsibility of ensuring that opportunities that were dreamt of by the youth that participated in Kliptown in 1955 during the adoption of the Freedom Charter are actually utilized correctly. The youth of 2015 has a responsibility of ensuring that the opportunities that Solomon Kalushi Mahlangu would never see nor access are utilized correctly. Young people should ensure that his blood was not spilled in vain. That when Kalushi said, "My blood will water the tree of freedom for generations after me," this was actually prophetic. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Mngcobo.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, honorable members of the House. Masingaya ukuphikisana nje seke NFP ikhulula abantu abasha balelizwe. Kuyosiza sonke lokho. The Freedom Charter is often referred to as the ANC's selective Bible. Yet it is a critical document in the long road to South Africa's democracy. The general sentiment that defines its equality and justice served as a moral beacon for the nature of our constitution and later translated into our defining human rights doctrine. However, we find very little in the Freedom Charter which speaks directly to the youth. But in it, we find the values and moral principles which could guide the youth of our country. We ask ourselves, what is it that the youth of South Africa needs most? The NFP submits that the most important issue to consider is the youth empowerment, and this can be done. Firstly, we believe that youth empowerment can be attained through access to employment opportunities. Poverty is the biggest threat to our democracy, and unemployment is the single most important obstacle in the way of our young people in realizing their full potential. How is it that 20 years after attaining democracy, we find that the youth still bear the brunt of unemployment, are marginalized and largely excluded from the mainstream economy? Our youth need access to employment so that they can have a stake in the development and fruits of the country and make a proud contribution to the growth and sustainability of our democracy. We are reminded of the words of famed American writer James Baldwin, who remarked that, and I quote, "The most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose," unquote. Can we afford to raise a generation of South Africans who have nothing to lose? We believe that youth empowerment can be attained through quality education. The Freedom Charter states that, and I quote, "The doors of culture and learning shall be opened," unquote. It envisaged a South Africa where education shall be free, compulsory, universal, and equal for all children. Has this happened then? One only has to look at the under-resourced school in our rural areas and the endless student riots as a result of financial exclusions to answer this question. We ask, why have our universities not transformed to reflect the demographics of our country yet? We ask, why does our government praise a mediocre pass rate? Why is our current education model, we ask, is our current education model the best we have to equip the youth for the challenges of tomorrow? And the answer is obviously no, Deputy Speaker. Lastly, we need more action when we speak of youth development than the words. Thank you so much.
Honorable Deputy Speaker and honorable members, colleagues, I call and one round, one dundu. It sits very unwell with me. I mean, an example, so if abantu bashusha kakhulu, what are we going to say? One night, one beer. And then after that, we say one fix, one night, if drug and alcohol abuse is the problem. No, it can be couched better. We can't condone into abantu ukuthi mabasebenzise condoms, ne sex, one round, one. It's wrong. The attitude is very defeatist. It's wrong. This year we commemorate the 39th anniversary of June 16, 1976, during which thousands of our young people died at the hands of the police, fighting against the diabolic system of apartheid. It's true, it's wrong. The focus is completely wrong. We're not going to say yes. However, regrettably, our celebrations occur against the backdrop of a country that is experiencing economic decline, where poverty, inequality, and unemployment define the conditions in which millions of our young people live. Honorable members, you are aware that the unemployment problem in South Africa is in particular, and more specifically, a youth unemployment problem. To put the statement in a bit of context, if you use the expanded definition of unemployment, approximately 6 out of every 10 young people are unemployed. I will never forget the day in 2012 rather, when 10,000 people, mainly young people, queued for hours in Durban to apply for 30 learnership programs that were offered by the Provincial Department of Transport. In addition to the unemployment problem is a poor education system that does very little to help our young people to break the cycle of poverty. It educates our people, mainly young people, for a permanent existence in the second economy. However, amid this dispiriting situation, there are countless opportunities to change the situation for the better. We have to be aggressive in supporting initiatives that promote youth entrepreneurship and youth small business development. We have to ensure that a portion of the 30% that has to be been set aside for procurement of goods from small businesses go to youth-owned business enterprises. To ensure a sustainable flow of young entrepreneurs, we must introduce entrepreneurship in our curriculum at schools. Colleagues, we have to be cognizant of the fact that our young people, or not all young people rather, can be entrepreneurs. Therefore, we have to introduce infrastructure development programs, or rather, expanded public works programs that are even more labor absorbing, so that more young people can get employment opportunities. It is important that we ensure that out of these programs, young people derive maximum value from these projects. They have to walk away with skills that they can sell to the market. On education and training, we have to ensure that our education system is transformed to ensure that young people acquire relevant and quality skills to help them contribute to our nation's socio-economic development. Addressing these challenges, among others, will go a long way towards ensuring that our young people look forward to the sunrise of our tomorrow. I thank you very much. No one round, one don't do nap.
Achtbare adjunct speaker, die onderwerp van bespreking is 'n gesamentlike poging vir die ontwikkeling van ons nasionale jeug, maar die ironie van die saak is, dit is in terme van die Vryheidsmanifest van die ANC. Nou wil ek dit baie duidelik stel. Daar is nie 'n manier wat die Vryheidsfront Plus 'n beleidsdokument van die ANC sal ondersteun en sal uitvoer nie. Maar die bespreking wys juis op die houding en die uitgangspunt van die regerende ANC. En dit is dat hulle net hulle ontwikkeling wil doen in terme van hulle kaders en hulle ondersteuners. Agbare adjunct speaker, ek wil dit baie duidelik stel vandag. Die mees benadeelde jong mense en groep in Suid-Afrika vandag is die wit jeug van Suid-Afrika. Daar gaan van die ANC-regering gaan uit hulle pad uit om klippe in die ontwikkeling van die wit jeug in Suid-Afrika te voorkom. As dit wit studente is wat aansoek doen vir beurse by universiteite, dan word dit afgekeur nie op grond van meriete nie, maar op grond van hulle veldkleur. As hulle aansoek doen vir werk, dan word hulle nie afgekeur op grond van hulle opleiding en hulle kwalifikasies en meriete nie, nee, hulle word afgekeur op grond van hulle veldkleur van regstellende aksie. Ek wil vandag vir u sê, dat dit is niks anders as rasisme in sy ergste graad nie. U veg en u sê dat rasisme moet uitgeroei word, maar u pas dit met 'n passie toe met die wit jeug van Suid-Afrika. Wat Suid-Afrika nodig het, achtbare young speaker, is om ons beste mense vir die werk te kry wat die beste opgelei is om die beste te lewer vir die ontwikkeling van Suid-Afrika. En daarom moet ons vra, hoekom moet as 'n wit student aansoek doen om medies te studeer, sekere hoë punte moet behaal? Maar indien dit 'n swart student is, dan kan dit maar lae punte wees. Ons beledig eintlik die mense van Suid-Afrika. Want wat ons sê is dat ons wil nie die bestes van die bestes hê nie. Suid-Afrika se probleme wat ons tans beleef, byvoorbeeld by Eskom, as ons gaan kyk na die openbare ondernemings, as gevolg van regstellende aksie, waar kundigheid uitgedryf is uit daardie instellings en nou in duie stort. Die nuutste is Petro SA. Hoekom? Omdat die ANC-regering nie werklik daarin belangstel om op meriete die beste mense vir die werk te kry nie. En die Vryheidsfront Plus wil vir die ANC sê, as u werklik Suid-Afrika wil ontwikkel, dan moet u wegdoen met regstellende aksie, want die wit jeug van Suid-Afrika wil 'n bydrae lewer en u moet ophou om klippe in hulle pad te rol. Ek dank u.
Honorable Land.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the 16th of June will forever be etched in the history of South Africa. Many, if not all of the speakers, will refer to 1976 when thousands of young people marched against Bantu education. But today I want to take another approach. On the 16th of June 1995, I was 10 years old. On that day, at a youth rally in Ladysmith, former President Nelson Mandela said the following: "One of the central messages as we mark the second South Africa Youth Day under conditions of democracy, we are driving home a central message that education is the most important asset that our youth should acquire, and that for the government to succeed in improving education, it must have the support of students, teachers, and parents alike." Today, almost 20 years later, education is still one of the most important assets that the youth should acquire. What we need to ask ourselves is whether we are giving youth the opportunity to acquire this asset. For the past 2 years, under this ANC government, less than 40% of the learners passed matric based on enrollment figures from grade 2 onwards. Our education system is thus failing more than 60% of our learners every year. Honourable Deputy Speaker, this does not even take into consideration the ridiculously low standards that's set to pass matric. Our youth carry the brunt of the massive unemployment and crippling poverty facing our country, and our government is not prepared to seriously tackle these issues. History will judge this ANC government harshly for failing to provide adequate education to our youth and failing to create the better life for all that you so promise. The first step in addressing the appalling state of basic education is to drastically shorten the lease of SATU and to ensure that we start holding teachers accountable for the quality of the education. Teachers, the molders of future generations, they should be appointed on merit only, following a competency test. This is non-negotiable. You have to start with the basics. Otherwise, we are setting our children up for failure. Children should learn how to read properly in the foundation phase. Applicable also, for this is the foundation of most, if not all, future learning. The DA understands the importance of education. Where we govern in the Western Cape, we look at the real matric pass rate, as well as the quality of those passes. The results have clearly shown, since we started governing the Western Cape in 2009, that we are the only party that truly care about young people. And we will continue to care about education when we govern nationally. In the above-mentioned speech from June 95, the following was also said: "Without education, our efforts to provide jobs, better health facilities, water, electricity, and other needs will not be sustained. We require youth with skills." Currently, this ANC government is not providing youth with skills. We cannot grow our economy, fight the huge unemployment and poverty by continuously failing our children at school level as this ANC government currently does. I conclude with a challenge to the youth. Critically look at the leaders that the three biggest parties offer you. What are those leaders doing for you today, and what can those leaders do for you tomorrow? In the one corner, let's call it the yellow corner, we have a leader who only cares about himself, his family, his friends, his connections, and those protecting him and his privilege. In the second corner, and let's call it the red corner, we have someone that can call the one in the yellow corner his father, his political father, who taught him his politics, his values, his principles. In fact, they are almost exactly the same, just dressed differently. This father and son combination had a personal fight, and that has spilled over into the rest of the household, the neighborhood, provinces, and the country. Lastly, we have a leader who is the closest to the age of the youth today. A leader who truly believes that every South African should be able to use the freedom the previous generation fought so hard for. A leader who believes that every single one of us should have the opportunity to be the best we can be, irrespective of our background, and a leader who works tirelessly to ensure that we have a society that is fair in looking after its citizens, while taking into consideration the historical disadvantages. The choice is yours. You can decide what your future should look like and who should lead you and fight for you. The youth today and the future of South Africa. We should have leaders who leave footprints, not leaders who leave fingerprints. I thank you.
Honorable Dudley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. As we debate today, it would be helpful for us to consider the mantra, nothing about us without us. Sadly, with no youth parliament on the agenda, this debate will be seen as old people talking about youth without youth, despite the young amongst us. Efforts to achieve national sustainable youth development will take many forms, but ultimately it will only happen one unique and valuable young person at a time. Many of the remarkable innovations of the last 50 years, including Google, Facebook, Twitter, iPods, iPads, and smartphones, were the ideas and actions of people under 30. South Africa's potential to develop and grow depends on the degree to which this generation rise above obstacles to meet needs in communities and find solutions to problems facing society in today's world. The ACDP believes young people want to be productive and successful, and we believe they can be, no matter what the challenges are. In fact, those that are successful succeed precisely because they find solutions to these challenges, and everyone benefits. Steve Jobs, who was 21 and not without issues, when he started a company that became one of the biggest successes ever known, had this to say: I am convinced that about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. Many say they go the extra mile. Few actually do. It can be a lonely place, but it is where the opportunities are. The one that is up early, stays late, makes the extra phone call, sends the extra email, does the extra research, and always does one more thing, especially if other people are not doing that thing. That is the person who rises above what is average and makes their mark. If you are wondering why the people you see in the National Assembly today should be so lucky, it's not luck. They will have gone the extra mile, and most still do, believe it or not. Jobs is also quoted as saying, sometimes when you innovate, you will make mistakes. Admit them quickly and get on with improving your innovations. Most people become defensive, blame others, like government, or give up. Those who embrace that failure, own it, learn from it, and take full responsibility can then make sure the next time it turns out better. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. You'll know when you find it. But the key word there is find. Start where you are, be the solution to whatever challenge or opportunity opens up, especially if it pays, but sometimes even when it doesn't. Then work hard and improve your skills. Small victories will give you the confidence and motivation to keep going. Success is achieved one challenge at a time. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower, but ideas without action aren't ideas. They are regrets. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Jafta.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, Honorable Gwangwa have mentioned one thing that I wish as this House we need to support, that we must send one clear message to our youth and children, that is to abstain. Honorable Deputy Chair, celebrating the Youth Day, that is 16 June 1976, is an opportunity for us to reflect on the progress made since then and beyond. That is since the Freedom Charter was adopted in 1955. The Freedom Charter clearly stated that all people shall have equal rights to use their own languages and to develop their own folk culture. The protest that began in Soweto against the Afrikaans as the medium of instruction was undoubtedly an indication of a visionary, enthusiastic, disciplined, and dedicated youth of the time. The resistance against foreign language domination above their own languages showed their desire to maintain their own identity and also their commitment to the Freedom Charter. That is why celebrating the Youth Day is so important, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Today's youth must be educated about the sacrifices made by the previous generations. The youth must be empowered so as to work to overcome the social issues that continue to persist within this country. Our society is still experiencing some forms of discrimination in one way or other, and the gap between the rich and the poor is still a serious challenge. The 1976 youth was prepared to die, and many ultimately died, but for the cause of the people of South Africa, not for an individual, as the nowadays youth might have declared. Honorable Chair, Deputy Speaker, from the youth, we expect future leaders of this country, people who can contribute fully towards social and economic transformation and reshape this country for the good of all South Africans. We therefore need to encourage our youth inside and outside of this House to follow the good example of the youth of 1976. The youth in South Africa is still facing challenges like poor quality education, unemployment, and many live in the streets. Diminishing strong leadership in this country also poses a challenge to the youth. Honorable Chair, it is very much regrettable to see the image of this House also degrading to the lowest level. I thank you.
Honorable Nwama.
What have I done now, ma'am?
What's that about, ma'am? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Just to clear up maybe an issue that arose earlier in the sitting.
Ma'am,
on a point of privilege.
If you have sorted it out, don't explain it, please.
Mustn't I explain?
No.
Okay.
Thank you very much. If it is
Okay.
cleared, that's okay. We don't need an explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
The educational and the economic development of the youth should not be politicized. It should be a civil issue to be made by statesmanship and fortitude of the mind. Some of our young women have chosen children production as a way of survival. I mean social grants. The government has opened a lot of doors for our young people, unfortunately gave keys to wrong people who are after fame and materialism. Some of them never cared about the young people, but to overthrow Botswana. That is why, honorable members, we see extraordinary nepotism, corruption, and arrogance. We need patriots who are willing to assist young people irrespective of their political affiliation and creed. Agangese believes quality education is the foundation of resolving the youth unemployment crisis. It will better equip our young entrepreneurs to be goal-driven. Honorable Deputy Speaker, there is a slow death of character and decency. We must cultivate a culture of hard work, patience, not those who follow get-quick-rich schemes like tenderpreneurs. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Whitfield. Can you continue the debate?
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honourable members, millions of young South Africans are looking to this Fifth Parliament for hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. Hope that we, the servants of the people, will take decisions that will build a truly inclusive future where all young South Africans can realise their dreams. Hope that this Fifth Parliament will indeed become the jobs parliament that the DA intends it to become. Speaker, we owe it to our nation's youth to build an enterprise economy that will create jobs for the more than 3 million unemployed young South Africans. We must build a start-up nation of young entrepreneurs to reboot our economy and place us on a sustained economic growth path. Presently, we are a nation where our potential exceeds our performance. This is because our potential is being constrained by the policy paralysis and procrastination of an ANC in a bitter ideological tug of war. Other than the woefully underfunded but well-intentioned Department of Small Business, there is simply no indication that the current government has any intention to build an enterprise economy. An enterprise economy simply cannot exist with the state at the center, and this is precisely where we find it. In an article titled Young, Black and Angry, economist Clancy Pai says, and I quote, "We do not want a government that is constantly interfering with the economy by trying to create jobs. Government will be broke if it continues to be a job creator in the economy," end quote. While this may sound counterintuitive to the ANC, it speaks to the very heart of building an enterprise economy. The state needs to let go in order for the economy to grow. Speaker, while the Honourable President giggles and jiggles at this very podium, paying lip service to the NDP, he positions himself as the #1 gatekeeper of hope to millions of young South Africans. It has become clear that under his leadership, the ANC has no intention of actually implementing the National Development Plan. This government is far more comfortable taking control over every aspect of the economy and the individuals that exist within it. They seek to suck the youth into their vortex of dependency on the state because this is where they can control them. But Speaker, there is hope on the horizon, and that horizon is within reach. Like the youth of 1976, this generation will not stand idly by as the echoes of our giggling president reverberate through the canyon of empty promises. They will embrace the spirit of Vuk'uzenzele because young South Africans are hungry for change, and change is coming. This change will come at the ballot box as millions of young South Africans take ownership of their future. Change that will deliver a DA government to dismantle the insider-outsider economy that has locked our youth out for far too long. It is only under a DA government that a real youth wage subsidy will create jobs for hundreds of thousands of young South Africans. We will cut red tape and establish opportunity centres across the country to serve as one-stop shops for small businesses and young job seekers to access meaningful support. A DA government will enter into partnerships with companies, schools and NGOs to roll out the My Future Starts Now entrepreneurship competition. The DA-led Western Cape has the lowest youth unemployment rate in the country, which proves that these innovative policies work. So when faced with the choice between freedom and despair, this generation will choose freedom. Between fairness and corruption, they will choose fairness. Between opportunity and poverty, they will choose opportunity. They will make these choices not for us, ladies and gentlemen, but for themselves, because they have discovered that there can be no future for them without them. I thank you.
Honorable Mkongi, can you continue the debate?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. As I rise before this House today, I would find it as a monumental betrayal if we omit to share with the nation a troubling story that compels the urgency of the call by the ANC for radical socio-economic transformation and the morality of the call for economic freedom in our lifetime. In 2011, in a poor settlement of Verwald, 25 kilometers from Lichtenburg, in the northwest province of South Africa, 4 black children of Mupela family, Onkarabile, Nkune, Sebengu, and Mapule, took to the road in desperate hunt for food and their mother. These children were aged 2, 6, 7, and 9. Their journey was a fatal 8 kilometers under excruciating heat. All 4 perished on their way before reaching their destination. Days later, their tiny and lifeless bodies were found in the open field, badly dehydrated and with hardly any food in their tiny stomachs. During their discovery, the police reported that, I quote, "The children were so badly decomposed, they were nothing more than their skin and bones. They lay on the ground facing each other as if they were plotting their next line of action." I close quote. These were black lives in a free and democratic South Africa. This situation is unacceptable. Even a so-called poor country like Cuba do not allow this tragedy to happen to its children and youth. In reality, it is scandalous and counter-revolutionary for children of that age who were supposed to be playing and attending school to die of hunger and neglect in a wealthy country like South Africa. This is a compelling case for faster change and radical socio-economic transformation to rid the majority of our people who happened to be black from the deep-seated fault lines of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Nkosi sikelela iAfrika. Honorable members, the conditions of our people speaks directly to the conscience of the youth of South Africa. These desperate conditions are a direct call to action to all young people in this country. The youth of the country must stop to outsource their responsibility into revolution to the state. The youth revolution could not be state-led, but the youth could complement the work of the state. Therefore, the question remains, what is the role and task of the youth and their movement as a motive force to fulfill the demands of the Freedom Charter in this country today? Whitefield, you are new in this game. I don't know you. But allow us to answer this difficult question. The ultimate vision of the Freedom Charter has not been fully achieved. Our task, therefore, is to accomplish this mission with great sense of purpose and urgency in honor of the successive generations of youth that came before us. We must do this in response to the cries of the Mapule family. We will fail in our historic duty of economic freedom in our lifetime if we don't raise our levels of political and ideological consciousness on broad historical and philosophical underpinnings of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. We will not win the struggle for economic freedom if we do not break ranks with the culture of consumerism, individualism, self-centeredness, and crass materialism. We will not live up to the dream of Nelson Mandela if we submit ourselves to the current dominant frivolities of voracious greed and vulgar sense of entitlement, including infantile chase to milk the state resources to the detriment of the people. Wealth exhibition and utter disregard for the future of our country and the current conditions of our people is detrimental to the noble principles of economic freedom in our lifetime. Those who indulge themselves to such acts, as well as those who get tenders from the state to do shoddy work, including those who give exam papers to our youth to copy, thereby risking the future, should be declared enemies of the revolution, and they are traitors. In practical terms, the youth as a critical sector should contribute meaningfully towards the construction of a more humane and equal society based on values of selflessness, integrity, mutual respect, and constructive engagement. They must be seen at all material times, grappling with day-to-day challenges facing our people. They must commit the entirety of their existence towards the good of the revolution and the contribution to economic development and industrialization of our country. They should utilize science, technology, and innovation to support government efforts to breathe life to the National Growth Plan and to re-industrialize Africa once and for all. The youth must use information, communication, and technology at their disposal to the good of the nation. They must use it to unite, not to divide our nation. It should not be cool to parade naked bodies of young women on social media. In Marxist-Leninist terrazas, it is antisocial. This is something that we call a minimum task of a youth in this country. But the broader tasks of youth in the 21st century is to commit themselves to take the resolution of the national question in South Africa to its logical conclusion. In that struggle for the actual resolution of the national question, the youth in general and the working youth in particular, through struggle and their intellectual capacity, must entrench the centrality of the working class towards the ultimate resolution of the class question. They must do so imbued with a sense of agency in resolving the struggle to defeat patriarchy as a revolutionary determinant for ultimate peace between men and women, which we call gender equality. So in the end, the youth should reject the emerging narrow sectarian posturing of the right-wing liberal conservatism that continue to breed a sense of hopelessness amongst our youth. In the same vein, the youth must reject the ultra-left junta of personality cult. The youth must defend the poor, the downtrodden, and the unsuspecting unemployed youth from abuse by those who are merely pondering on the present challenges without any clarity or providing any solution. In fact, the youth must know that without the ANC, there can be no economic freedom in our lifetime. The youth must be vigilant of the emergence of individuals and organizations in our society that are established only to pursue narrow programs without proper vision to take South Africa forward. In their individual and collective capacities, the youth must uplift the weak, the vulnerable, the poorest of the poor in their communities by leading social programs that can go a long way in denting the current realities of poverty, unemployment, and inequalities without the expectation of a gain. The youth, together with the ANC, must take South Africa forward. So it is in this regard that we stand here today to reaffirm the centrality of the ANC to bring back the better life for all our people. The ANC, as the leader of society, leading the broad forces of the democratic struggle, it has managed to carry all South Africans to this end. It is a known fact that it is only the ANC that can lead our people towards the creation of the National Democratic Society and a better life for all our people. Our guiding documents and tools in this journey is the Freedom Charter and the National Development Plan. We stand here before you as young people of the Republic to thank the ANC and salute the youth of 1976
Honorable Member,
for the
your
work
time
job
has
done.
expired.
Thank you very much. I taught you politics.
Honorable Mbina, can you continue the debate?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. Dinomzukulwana pa igama lakhe uNcwanqwa is my granddaughter, you see. And then uyayiwatcha le TV. It will be very embarrassing uba ndinomapha ndibe ndithetha ngo-one condom and one this. Noko isiboke sinqandane bafondini. As the PAC, we support the concept of sustainable youth development. But at the same time, we know that it cannot be informed by a document which is giving away the birthright of the African youth. This so-called sell-out document called the Freedom Charter. Moreover, as the PAC, we believe that the structure that the government has put cannot make youth development sustainable. The PAC shall all these years called for a youth ministry, and would like to persuade this government to move away from these loose arrangements. The Minister for Presidency, Youth Minister, the other day it is part of the Labour Department, tomorrow it is under Trade and Industry. There's a lot of confusion. And the youth of this country must understand that the ruling party has been chanting these slogans, since 94, and now it's after 21 years. So you need to ask yourselves whether you are benefiting from these slogans that they have been chanting. You are feeling the pinch, not the ruling party. Yeah. We just have quite a lot of catchphrases and the sloganeering that we are doing, which is delaying us. We would also like to be competitive amongst the nations. We have to open our minds of our youth, therefore opening opportunities, not as the crumbs that are presented to them. When Uncle Zelf, the second president of the PAC, and the members of the PAC, when they were sentenced to a total of 162 years by Judge Carl Lewis for agitating the youth of this country, to fight against bantu education and also to fight against thank you. Yeah. We Bethel 18 trial, because there is no other trial except that one. So if you really read that trial, it will tell you that the struggle was not spontaneous, and the emergence of black consciousness was a direct result of the status campaign. EPAC will conclude by calling on the relevant ministries to collaborate to move the youth grant. EPAC sees SANDAF as the critical institution into putting the necessary discipline, focus and competitiveness. Thank you, Comrade Chair. It's a pity you did not have a chance to be lectured, you see.
Thank you very much,
because
Honorable
of time.
Your time has expired, please. Honorable Mokhosi, may you continue the debate?
Any government that is serious about significantly changing its people's lives and maintaining socially responsive economic and political systems know just how crucial it is to empower its people, especially the youth. And ANC. Although South Africa is in its 21st year of democracy, the ANC's policy have continued reproducing and maintaining apartheid's legacy of significant inequalities. The burden of most of these inequalities falls heavily on the youth in terms of education, unemployment, and access to basic services, amongst other things. The Freedom Charter, ANC says the doors of learning shall be open to all, and South Africans' constitution mandates that the government makes education available.
Honorable Mokhosi, can you take a seat? There's a point of order. No, this one. This one.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to check what is the Matlakala in Setswana. It's not accepted. It's unparliamentary, and I would want the Honourable Speaker to withdraw.
No, I must make a ruling. Allow me to make a ruling. There's a point of order for which I need to make a ruling on.
Don't be angry, relax.
No, just relax.
Don't be angry. You get emotional when you speak to us.
Take a seat, Honorable Member.
Relax.
No, I cannot relax.
You are disturbing the kids. Relax.
Honorable Member, take a seat, please. Honorable Member, that is not a point of order. Honorable Mokhosi, can you continue with the debate?
Most schools are under-resourced. They do not have textbooks, stationery, libraries, science labs, or computer labs. Most learners have to walk long distances and cross dangerous roads to get to school. The poor quality of primary and secondary schooling cripples the chances of most African and colored youth from accessing higher education and get away to a better life. Those who are lucky enough to get admission are later turned away simply because NSFAS cannot pay and they cannot afford to pay tuition. Students need bursaries, loans. Our higher learning institutions only take up 30% of learners who pass matric. What about the rest of the 70%? How many young people do we have sitting at home with matric certificates and no university to go to? Access to education in South Africa, which should be a basic human right, is like winning lottery. South Africa has enough wealth to radically transform the education system and offer free quality education to all, up to the first degree, but refuses to do so. The ANC government prefers keeping the majority of our youth undereducated and hungry so that local corporates and foreign multinational corporations have abundant cheap labor to exploit and discard at will. Youth unemployment in South Africa is the third highest in the world at 71%. If government were to do away with the tender system and create its own cement company, construction company, pharmaceutical company, and establish industries such as institutions for science and technology innovation, the state would meet its service delivery challenges and significantly drop unemployment. But we are led by a ruling party that has no capacity to lead and a selfish, thieving president who giggles at extremely important issues. How can we then expect South Africa's state of affairs to change? Youth formations associated with the ruling.
Chairperson, the honorable member on the podium has just referred to the president, His Excellency President Zuma, as a thieving president.
As a
thieving president. Thieving president.
Thieving?
Thieving, meaning he's a thief.
Oh, okay.
Can you ask her to withdraw on that?
Honorable member, did you refer to the president as a thief? Honorable Mokhosi?
Listening is a skill. Can I continue with my speech?
Honorable Mokhosi. Honorable Mokhosi.
In a point of order.
Honorable Mokhosi.
Can I repeat the sentence?
Honorable Mokhosi, did you refer to the president as a thief?
Can I repeat the sentence so that you can also
Honorable
hear the
Mokhosi,
chairperson?
did you refer to the president as a thief?
I didn't.
Okay, she says you didn't. Therefore,
Point of order,
Can you
Chair.
continue with the
On a
debate?
point of order.
She
Can-
says
can
she didn't.
Can you study the handset and then rule on that?
According to, okay, let me satisfy myself, but in terms of the
that
debate.
tall boy over there mustn't waste our time.
No, honorable member. Honorable members, can we allow Honorable Mokhosi to conclude the debate? Can you conclude the debate, Honorable Mokhosi?
Youth formations associated with the ruling party in tertiary institutions and our communities are not about improving the challenges faced by youth,
Honourable
but are
member,
used as
unfortunately, your time
lapdogs
has
to consolidate
expired.
the ruling party's voters.
Honorable Mokhosi, your time has expired.
Le ga o tla itima metsi,
Honourable
o tla e
Mokhosi.
bona e nwele. Shushu
Honourable
ilela
Mokhosi.
shushwana gore shushwana e tle go
Honourable
ilele.
Mokhosi.
Respect is not demanded, respect is earned.
Honorable Kaula, can you continue the debate?
Honorable Deputy Chairperson, 39 years after the groundbreaking sacrifice and history-making contribution by the youth of 1976 in the liberation struggle, South Africa stands at a crossroad of a new chapter of challenges. We look back at the events of that era with mixed feelings of pride and joy, hope and encouragement, bravery and enthusiasm, but also sadness in that remarkable loss. It is a loss that brings with it a sense of shame, regret to some, and a loss that brings with it a sense of amandla to the others. 1994 brought with it a healing of the wounds of a mission accomplished. It brought a healing that says, whilst we ventured and carried sad losses, but it was not in vain. A future of another 39 years to come will also look back at the events of today and judge us. We will all be judged about how good or how bad we were able to take democracy and either build with it a prosperous country or destroy with it the hopes and aspirations of a better South Africa. I want to refer a little to what Dorothy Knoll says in her writing, Children Learn What They Live. If children live with hostility, they learn to fight. If children live with tolerance, they learn to be patient. If children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. If children live with fairness, they learn justice, unquote. Honorable Chairperson, I look back at my political upbringing in my political home, the IFP, with pride. It is a political home that instilled in us the highly valued principles of Ubuntu and respect. I look back at the leaders of Inkatha Freedom Party, and we can only think of one treasured value, integrity. Can only think of the next treasured value, oneness, brotherhood, sisterhood. It is these values which led to the historical consultations between the IFP Youth Brigade and the ANC Youth League in order to save South Africa from disaster. It is these values which led to the formation of the National Youth Development Forum to start talking youth development together. The IFP Youth Brigade and the ANC Youth League and the PAC Youth and others came together in unison and said, the future of our country belongs to all of us together. Let us start building now. It is these values which inspired the then Deputy President of South Africa in 1996 to bring together the Youth Indaba at Kempton Park. The Youth Indaba culminated into the establishment of the Youth Commission in the same year. Whilst my party was opposed to the idea of a commission, and is still opposed to it even today and lobby for the youth ministry, but the majority of the youthful politics that prevailed made all of us move forward together. With the fading of the NYDF, we all agreed to another platform, the National Youth Council. On behalf of the IFP Youth Brigade, I want to challenge the youth of the ANC, the IFP, DA, EFF, UTM, and all else today to say, what is your contribution to the country, South Africa today? I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Stock.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. I think before I start, I just need to clarify the issue that was raised by Honorable Fred Shivambo from the EFF earlier on. It's unfortunate because he's not there, because by the look of things, it looks like he has left. I just want to clarify this issue, Honorable Deputy Chair, because we might set a very wrong precedent in this parliament. We are honorable members in this parliament. We must take each other very serious. The issue of the EFF not being represented in the speech, the speakers list, and the DF and the DA.
You have submitted proof to the chief whip
Order,
of the
Chair.
MCOP
Order, Chair.
that there's no
Chair,
speakers of the,
order.
there's no speakers
Rule
from the
7.
Let me just take a point of
there's no
order.
speakers
Honourable
from
Stock.
the EFF and the DA
Honourable
that are
Stock.
going to come.
May I make a ruling on that matter? There is an earlier ruling that was made on this specific matter, so let's not refer back to it. Honourable Stock, you may proceed with the debate.
No, it's, I thought I must raise it as part of my debate because it might just create a very bad precedent, so it must be corrected. There's processes in Parliament, so if you have, it's not our mistake if you have not submitted candidates from your political
Honourable
party
Stock.
that are going to debate. Honourable Deputy
Honourable
Chairperson,
Citizen.
allow me to address you
Honourable
all.
Stock, can I just take the point of order?
We already had a ruling from the chair earlier around this matter where the chief whip tried to reintroduce it. The matter has been resolved, but if we want to start debating it, I can start pulling out emails as well, and we can have a proper debate around it.
Let's not even get there. Honourable Stock, can you continue with the debate?
Honourable Deputy Chair, allow me to greet you all. This year's debate on the National Youth Day in South Africa coincides with the 21st anniversary of our freedom and democracy under the leadership of the African National Congress. This imperative debate gives a clear recognition of the milestone in regard to the 60th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, which was adopted in 1955 in Cape Town. Oliver Tambo gave the title of Young Lions to the generation of 1976 for their relentlessness in fighting the ignoble regime of apartheid. They earned their stripes in the battlefield. The Young Lions radiated an amazing amount of energy, resourcefulness, confidence, assertiveness, fearlessness, and deep intellect. We remember Peter Mokaba during this day. We remember Pax Mankatlana, Solomon Matlangu, Simpiwem Timkulu, Franz Moshala, Tsietsi Mashinini, Hector Peterson, and many others who have epitomized the spirit of Young Lions through great leadership. We are celebrating Youth Day under the theme, progressively implementing the spirits of the Freedom Charter by advancing our collective efforts for sustainable youth development by 2030. This is primarily just for us to re-emphasize as the ANC-led government that our commitment as the ANC-led government to placing the youth development issues high on the developmental agenda of government. As a nation, we must always recognize that the vibrant voice of young people has always been embedded in the struggle for liberation and social transformation. The voice of the 1976 generation signaled a watershed moment in the political struggle to bring about change and social transformation. In commemorating this important day of Youth Day, our youth leaders should continue to draw inspiration from the 1976 generation. Today's youth should continue to have their collective voice yet in matters of democratic government and social change in order to bring about a better life to all. Honorable Deputy Chair, as we celebrate these 21 years of democracy, it is always important not to forget that there are a number of good stories that were delivered by the ANC-led government to many of our young people. But it's always very important because we are not shying away from the challenges as the ANC-led government. We also acknowledge that there are challenges, but the future of young people of this country remains in the African National Congress. We also find comfort in the fact that within a few years of the democratic rule under the ANC, we have been able to provide free housing to the millions of our people. The multitudes of the poor are now enjoying access to clean water and sanitation. More and more children are attending no-fee schools and are beneficiaries of our feeding schemes program. The social network system is providing a lifeline in a form of grants to millions of our young people. However, we are not oblivious to the fact that our economy has not benefited all up to so far. It has not been inclusive enough, such as the floor shop worker can regard himself or herself as an equal player within the economic landscape of the country. Young people as members of society have a critical role to play in building their communities and also the nation at large. It is the responsibility of the youth to get involved in the community structures and the different organizations which are aimed at improving the conditions in their different areas. This involvement must be guided by a strong sense of civic responsibility. It should also not be a self-serving involvement. Today we are faced with the challenge of young people who are hardly involved in the youth structures and therefore expend their energies on activities that have little value to the development of their communities. Honorable Deputy Chair, with almost 22 million young people in South Africa below the age of 35, the task of providing support to all these young people, it will always remain a daunting task, which requires a lot of patience and a consistent long-term goal setting. Many still need support, but many have reached their support over the last 21 years. Millions of South Africans today enjoy the fruits of democracy, and millions of these learners and a number of learners to financial and non-financial support for young entrepreneurs. To address some of these challenges that I've highlighted already, through the National Development Agency, working together with government departments and state-owned enterprises, as well as the private sector, the civil society organizations, and most importantly, young South Africans, has laid a solid foundation towards the development of a policy document, which is called the National Youth Policy 2020, which was recently made government policy through the approval by the Cabinet following elaborate consultations with various organizations. This policy seeks to address the main areas that must be the youth development, economic emancipation and transformation, education, skills development, and second chances health, including reproductive health, and anti-substance abuse, nation building, and optimizing the youth development machinery. Honorable members, allow me also to reiterate the fact that through the NYDA, they have also been able, last year on the 18th of April 2013, the government has actually approved also the National Youth Employment Accord. The accord proposes 3 distinct interconnected work streams. The first, which is including the identification of immediate areas of action. The second includes the identification of additional areas of action and targets. And the third one, which is the last one, includes the commencement of discussions on the constraints in the economy that hinder job creation and inclusive growth. Most importantly, it contains a set of 6 commitments that all social partners have subscribed to. In conclusion, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, I was part of the delegation that went to Galaga in 2011, the National Congress of the Youth League, which actually endorsed the program for economic freedom in our lifetime. So these other small political parties must not come to this podium or run around in a country and create an impression as if economic freedom belongs to them. Young people in this country, that they know that their future remains within the African National Congress. And it is only the ANC that will be able to deliver this economic freedom. Anything that seems like economic freedom outside the ANC is just fake and very cosmetic. We urge all young people to take responsibility for their own future, our country's future, and the future of our society. Young people must lead, and government will always provide support to them. We should be brave, bold, and very courageous, espousing the values of tolerance, respect, and also humility and selflessness as we take our country forward. It is the youth who will continue again, once, honorable members, to lead and ensure that the brighter, better, and more prosperous future remains in the African National Congress. Siyaqhuba, siyasebenza. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Stock. Honorable Dele, can you continue the debate?
Ngiyabonga sihlalo. Ngifuna uqala ngombuzo. What is the biggest problem of the ANC government? It's not just bad policy, although heaven knows the ANC does have a knack for churning out disastrous policy that chases away investments and kills jobs, abandoning most young people to a bleak future. The biggest problem is that the ANC drives the motor car of government with the accelerator pressed down, but the handbrake is up. The accelerator iknezele phansi, kodwa i-handbrake ime phezulu. What happens when a car is like that? It goes nowhere. Kulimale futhi engine ngaphezu kwalokho. Chairperson, the Honorable Manamela spoke about access to skills development, access to information as being part of the dreams of our youth. But the ANC's incompetence means that those dreams will remain just that, dreams. The SETAs are ineffective and NSFAS is dysfunctional and underfunded. If you want to see the realization of the youth's dreams, look at the DA-governed Western Cape, where we ensure textbooks are delivered on time, we implement the youth wage subsidy as the work and skills program, and we have a youth internship program known as the Premier's Advancement of Youth. We offer recreational opportunities through our MOT centers, and we have a partnership between the Department of Community Safety and the faith-based sector to conduct sports and cultural programs during school holidays in poor communities. That is real youth development. The Honorable Stander outlined the opportunities and conditions that will help young people realize their potential in the DA's vision of an open opportunity society for all, underpinned by freedom, fairness, and opportunity. This is a vision for a better future and a united, prosperous, winning nation, and more young people are joining our Blue Wave to build that future. Simply look at the DA Students' Organization victory at Fort Hare University, where those students have chosen to bank on the DA's offer and invest in a future of freedom, fairness, and opportunity. In 2 days' time, the DA will launch our Vision 2029, explaining how the people of our country, especially young people, can expect their lives to have improved after 10 years of DA-led national government. Okusho ukuthi sihlalo, amalunga e-ANC abaqale ukukhetha ama-seats abo ngala. Ngoba thina sobe siwathathile ama-seats abo ngala. And judging by the empty ANC benches in this joint sitting, judging by these empty benches, they don't seem too attached to their seats anyway, so handing them over to the DA in 2019 should not feel like too much of a loss. Chairperson, Honorable Smelane Zulu showed an understanding of the role of government as being to create conducive conditions for employers and entrepreneurs. But here are the questions. Is the ESCOM power crisis conducive? Are tourism destroying visa regulations conducive? Is the weakening of property rights and the proliferation of corruption conducive? The answer to all of these is no. Iyona le ndaba ebengiyichaza ekuqaleni. The accelerator is pressed down, kodwa i-handbrake ime phezulu. Chairperson, one of the ANC speakers yesterday said i-ANC ayibancisha abantwana. But the ANC government's failure to create a high-growth economy in which economic opportunities abound is to deprive the youth of the tools and fertile environments to realize their potential. They will not allow their future to tumble over the fiscal cliff. Because niyabancisha, bazoniqosha. So, Chairperson, what is to be done? Clearly, the ANC lacks the will and the leadership to do the right things to ensure a bright future for young people. These young people will choose the hand that will release the brake holding our country back. That is the blue hand of the DA. Abantu abasha bazosipha amandla esandleni sethu ukuze sidedele leyo break.
Your time has expired.
I thank you.
Honorable Khoza, may you continue the debate?
Mfoka Mbele, uyazama bandla kodwa ngokuhamba kwesikhathi uzawugcina usukwazi ukukhuluma kahle. Sizohambisana nje sicathulisane size sifike la sifika khona. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, extraordinary times require extraordinary leadership. The devastating trail on the path of colonialism coupled with racial capitalism is often understated. The African National Congress, as a leader of society, does not have time to argue with the opposition about their own point of views. We have a responsibility to lead. We have a responsibility to remain true to our mission. We have a responsibility to build social cohesion, a united, non-racial, non-sexist society, and never to be detracted from our pursuit of a prosperous society. Undoing over 340 years of psychological, economic, political, and social damage of unimaginable proportions. Do your own arithmetics. From 1652 to 1994, that's over 340 years. It is no easy task. Admittedly, 21 years is not enough. As the ANC as the leader, because we are leading from the front, and we are leading from the center, and we are also leading from the back. And we can testify that kushawa edonsayo. We have a responsibility of leading the implementation of the National Development Plan 2030 and Africa Agenda 2063. Allow me, honorable members, to demonstrate the caliber of the youth class of 1996. They were not driven by self-serving motives. They were united and informed by the agenda to build a national democratic society. They rejected language imperialism and all its manifestations. They stood up for what was just and fair. This language imperialism is well captured because sometimes we talk and we don't want to refer to history because it's too painful to remember what actually happened. And I'm going to quote the then Deputy Minister of Bantu Education verbatim, Mr. Panchenson, who was quoted as saying in 1976, open quote, "A black man may be trained to work on a farm or in a factory. He may work he may work for an employer who is either English speaking or African speaking. And the man who has to give him instructions may be either English speaking or African speaking." Why should we then start quarreling about the medium of instruction amongst the black people? Close quote. When asked whether he has consulted the black people who were affected by the imperialist language to continue alienating black people, he had this to say, open quote, "No, I have not consulted them, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to consult them. I have consulted the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, pointing to the Constitution that treated the black people as non-citizens and objects of their colonial white masters." Madam Chairperson, language is not just a cultural communication tool, it is economics. Professor Kwesi, a well-known African anthropologist and linguist, puts it very well. He says, open quote, "No country can make progress on the basis of a borrowed language," close quote. Language is therefore a determining factor of one's political, social, economic, and psychological standing in society. It is therefore important, honorable members, that when we are speaking about all these things that we are saying, we actually begin to understand the importance, the significance of the agenda of the class of 1976. And I also wanted to tell you that we actually have enough evidence to demonstrate that where in countries where they have embraced their own language and stopped using the dominance of the language of their colonial masters, they succeeded. Vietnam is a very good example, and it is the fastest growing economy. And on this note, I also wanted to congratulate the University of KwaZulu-Natal for taking a bold step of embracing isiZulu and English as the medium of instruction in that university. I have to say this, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. There is a disturbing emergence of a new breed of youth leadership. As we commemorate the historic class of 1976, which coincides with 60 years of the Freedom Charter, it is of great consequence that we highlight some of the emergence of a new breed of youth leadership with disturbing characteristics. Number one, there is emergence of a colonially inspired and brainwashed youth leadership, posing as the epitome of an ideal South African youth. They are presented as embracing liberal democratic values. Their mantra, forget the past. This type of youth is best described as being brainwashed, thoroughly colonized, alienated from economic reality, and alienated from their own history, and they are actually battling with identity. There is another one that is very, very disturbing. This is a hybrid of the selfie Machiavelli style and fascist ideology. These are pseudo-revolutionaries. These pseudo-revolutionaries are characterized by high levels of duplicity.
Honorable Member, can you take your seat? Is that a point of order?
Yes, Honorable Chairperson. I rise in terms of Rule 14R, explanations. I just want to know if the Honorable David Mania has got an African sister in the House that's now speaking in the way that she does a move.
No, Honorable Member, that's not a point of order. Honorable Member, can you continue with the debate?
Honorable Singh knows that I'm a very expressive person and I'm very proud of that. And let's not digress, guys. This is very important for all of you. If you have pens, take your pens and write notes. These pseudo-revolutionaries, they claim that they are here to liberate young South Africans, the whole country. Some of them, they are even saying they have this economic agenda. Yet, when you actually look at them, the characteristic that is now becoming very, very pronounced is that they are very disrespectful. They have no value system. They confuse being assertive and being rude. And these are the people that are claiming that they are the alternative of the ANC. And of course, John, we have the other disturbing one. That tender
Honorable Member, Honorable Member, may you address other members through me and not direct your interaction with members.
Okay, we have this other disturbing one. And I'm going to repeat this. Corruption is not synonymous with the ANC. These entrepreneurship youth leaders are characterized by instant gratification, high levels of greed. They don't understand the concept of wealth creation. They splash wealth and are forever on the fast lane. But there is this one that is even worse of them all. This is the psychologically damaged beyond measure. The typical examples of these are those that are now even seeing positive qualities in Adolf Hitler. That is actually very, very serious. And the worst thing is that they are actually associated with the knowledge industry, with universities. It is for this reason that as the ANC, we are saying, today we wanted to say there are leadership lessons that we can learn from those who have come before us. It has always been a historical fact that South African youth has always been at the center of crafting and determining the way forward for our future. We have many examples of honorable young South Africans then and international experiences of those who have similar experiences as ourselves. One of those is Benjamin Penneker, born in 1731 as a son of the slave and the grandson of a slave, but defied all odds under the sun and became a mathematician and an amateur astronomer with no formal education. Age 30, he took apart a pocket watch and from it designed and constructed a striking wooden clock which operated successfully from 1761 at least until his death in 1806. He predicted the eclipse of 1789 that no other American scientist had foreseen. And the other one that is closest to my heart is Priscilla Isaac Gaseme. A 30-year-old then in 1911, when he called for unity amongst Black Africans and paved the way for the destruction of artificial boundaries amongst tribes. Today, the ANC reflects that character, conceived, molded, and determined by this young Black African man. My story will be incomplete if I do not remind our women that we have Charlotte Maxeke, a 31-year-old then, when she obtained a BSc degree in 1905. She changed the character, form, and philosophy of the ANC when it came to women. She is remembered for her role in challenging the patriarchal mindset within the liberation movement and paved the way for the acceptance of women as full members of the ANC, though decades later. Anton Lembede, the founding president of the ANC Youth League, is known as one of the principal architects of African nationalism. O.R. Tambo, also the founder of the ANC Youth League, an uncompromising educationist. As a young, was the passionate teacher of science and mathematics. Nelson Mandela, a student activist, a young, insightful leader, one of the founders of Umkhonto weSizwe. He grew up to becoming South Africa's first democratically elected president and the father of world peace, reconciliation, and forgiveness. I also do want to say we also have a young generation like Juan Nutsang. The list is too long. One would not be able to mention all of them. But he was 20 years old in 1976. He subsequently became one of the pioneers of South African policies post-1994. There are many inspirational leaders. The list is endless. So it is up to us as young people to choose the leaders that we identify with. We have to be critical. Let's understand that a leader is not just about what he says, but what he does. Madam Deputy Chairperson, I also wanted to say that it is very important that on this day, let's not forget that there were white youth that were with us during the liberation struggle. The End Conscription campaign, those young men, white men, they chose not to point the mouth of the gun at us as we were demanding our freedom. They chose not to go to serve in the South African National Defense Force. As we commemorate the youth of 1976, let's also remember those, because they are not the preserve of other people. They also belong to us.
Honourable Member, can you
In
conclude?
closing, in closing, let me quote what the NPP 2030 says. We, the people of South Africa, have journeyed far since long lines of our first democratic elections on 27 April 1994. When we elected the government
Your time
for
has
us,
expired,
we
Honourable
began
Member.
to tell a new story. And this story is what we are telling you today.
Thank you very much. Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, that concludes the debate and the business of this joint sitting. The joint sitting will rise.